Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for being here. This is a very important day here in the Adirondacks, and for our environment, our residents, our children, our seniors, anyone that lives in the Adirondacks, and hopefully this will carry on through to the rest of New York State. But we're here to discuss and take a victory lap, quite frankly, on the Randy Preston Salt Reduction Act. I have with me today Senator Betty Little, who is a co-sponsor on this bill. Senator-elect Dan Steck, who is a co-sponsor on this bill. And we have Michelle Preston, Randy's wife. And we'll be hearing from all of them in a minute. Also joining me today are, where am I? Willie Janway, Adirondack Council. Willie. Steve Mikowski from ADK Action. Zoe Smith and Dan Kelting from the Adirondack Watershed Institute. And Mr. and Mrs. Lee Keat, who is a big supporter of this bill. Did I leave anybody out? All right. I'm doing all right here. Well, what this bill does is that it's forming a task force that will lead to a pilot program here in the Adirondacks. It'll be a 14-member task force. And we've known for years and years and decades now the corrosive effects that salt has on our environment. And for anyone that's dealt with this, which I have been in homes that have dealt with this, it gets into their water wells. I was talking yesterday about a house that I had visited in Saranac earlier in the year, a brand new constructed home. The first time they went to use the water, what came out of their faucet was not a clean glass of drinking water. Ever since then, this is a brand new constructed home, brand new well. They have had to ship water in to bathe themselves and their children, to wash their dishes, wash their clothes, for their drinking water. And there are many homes like that and residents like that throughout the North Country and the Adirondacks. So this is very important for them. And also our environment, our waterways. Salt is getting into our waterways and our aquifers and doing damage to them. And we must do something about this. We, of course, want to keep our roadways safe, and we will. But we need to do something to reduce salt and the effects that it has on our waterways and our residents. So the 14-member task force will be made up of environmental groups. Let me get my papers here. Will be made up of people from DOT. Let me get my papers here. Molly, you screwed me up. Here we go. We will have local representation on it as well. Somebody from local governments, state DOT, the health department, which is very important in this whole process. We wanted that in there as well. It will be made up of somebody from local governments and highway maintenance, which was very important to have them at the table and in the conversation as well. So, and scientists, yes, Lee, thank you. This is very important, and it really is a momentous day. I can't tell you how happy I am and the support that has gone into this. There have been many, many people that have worked on this, including the group behind me, but many, many others that have advocated for this. This will make change. This will make change in the Adirondacks. This will make change for our residents and our environment. And we're just so proud of this momentous occasion, and we look forward to working on this. This will be a working task force. I know, as Senator Little and Dan know, we do a lot of task force in Albany, and we form a lot of committees and groups. But this one will be a working group. They will make change. They will get things done. And for the betterment of our residents and our environment, this will get done. So without further ado, I want to introduce Senator Betty Little.
Let me begin by apologizing, and it's my fault. I put 1 o'clock in my schedule, and I was sticking to it, and it wasn't the right time. So I apologize. But, you know, a lot of things have happened since March with COVID, and we've learned some lessons, some good and some bad. But one of the lessons that I think that comes to mind for me is that in the North Country, in Saranac Lake and Lake Placid, all the events were canceled. And yet this summer, we had unbelievable crowds. We had people that did better than they had done in other years. And people were coming to the Adirondacks just because of what they were. Beautiful scenery, clean water. And that is something that makes us focus on that even more. Because without that, I think we really lose a lot of our tourism, we lose our reputation, and we lose our property values, which is an important thing for local government. So we have been working on this for a number of years. Everyone wants clean roads. I can't tell you the number of people who call my office and know the ice on the roads, blah, blah, blah. But we have to come to a compromise, clean roads and clean water. And unfortunately, when roads were built, long time ago, many of them were built right around the shorelines of the lakes because that was the flattest area around and went uphill from there. So a lot goes from the roads in. We've had some pilot programs a number of years ago. We started in Lake George, which had a problem as well. We have had pilot programs up here. Nancy and Lee Keats are here, and I think this was the first project of Adirondack Action, wasn't it? The road salt. They really worked hard to bring this to the forefront and see that it got the attention that it needed. And there are so many things that can be done. DOT has done some things like slowing down the plows, and then they get complaints that people are stuck behind it. But everybody's got to jump on board to this to know that you might be impacted. It might take you a little longer to get someplace. But if we're keeping our lakes and rivers and streams clean, that is key for our economy, for our environment as well. So a lot has been done. We're very fortunate to have Paul Smith College right here in their watershed, Dan Kelting. They've been working on this for years. And so it's a perfect place to do a project. And I don't want to call it a study. I want to call it a pilot project preparation that we can actually implement when this is over with in the next couple of years. So thank you to everyone who has worked on it. And you know, when we went into the minority, Senator Tim Kennedy from Buffalo, who heads transportation, he was willing to take over this bill and shepherd it through the Senate as well. So my hat's off to him as well. So, and to understand the need for this. I'm sure that there are other areas of the state that are going to want to copy us, and that's good because we're leading the way. But thank you so much to everyone who's involved, everyone who advocated. It's everyone that's up here who really pushed and advocated and got behind it. Because, you know, for a legislator to say this bill has to pass, that's one thing. But you have to have the people that are being affected by it to get behind that bill, and they did. So thank you very much.
And now I'd like to introduce Senator-elect and current Assembly member from the 114th Assembly District, Dan Stack.
All right, thanks, Billy. First, I want to take this opportunity to thank, on behalf of all of us, our friend and colleague, Senator Betty Little, for her life of service. Her 18 years in the Senate is amazing, and you know, we're thrilled that you're here and seeing this bill over the finish line. Betty, it's great to be with you. Here we are. It's snowing. It's it's that road salt snowplow kind of time of year that's almost on us. I just want to add to what Senator Little and Billy have said a little bit. You know, everything in life, I think, eventually boils down to finding a balance, striking a balance. You know, and this is another one of those examples. We want clean, safe roads, of course, but we also want clean waterways, and we want an environment that we're proud of and that's healthful and that attracts the, you know, the tourism that we rely on. So it's about finding and striking that balance. So of course we also have to realize that as time progresses, so does technology and our knowledge and things that work and don't work, our life experience, our scientific experience, our collective knowledge, and there's better ways to do things than there were 10 years ago or 20 years ago. And government, being its own nature, it's a big ship. It takes a long time to turn sometimes. The bureaucratic wheels turn slowly. And so this is maybe an item that's time is a little past due, but better late than never. And again, another perspective of mine from government is anytime you get a diverse group together that shares the identification of a problem and a desire to solve it like we have here, that you embrace that. You hang on to that tight and you pursue it, and you don't let go until you get action. I'm delighted that the Senate and the Assembly passed this bill. I'm thrilled that the governor signed it. As a ranking member of the Assembly's Environmental Conservation Committee, I'm a proud co-sponsor of this legislation. This is an opportunity for us to start applying some of that knowledge, collect data. We should make our decisions based on data and not just emotion. But we suspect that we know what needs to be done, but this will help us make good decisions to put less salt on the road and ultimately less salt into our waterways, but hopefully at the same time not sacrificing on public safety on the roadways. So I congratulate Billy Jones for his leadership on this issue, as well as everyone that's up here for sticking with us and with government and their patience and pushing. I think we did a good job to get it through the way that we did. And again, I congratulate the governor for signing it earlier this week. And it's a privilege to be here in Saranac Lake. I'm looking forward to my new role, and I thank everybody here for your well wishes earlier before we started. So thank you.
Thank you, Dan. And as Dan had mentioned previously, and Betty, this will be a working group, and some of the measures that will be taken by the task force in implementing a pilot program are they will use best practices. They will use technology, because a lot of people ask, what is this task force doing? They're going to use the data, and that's a key part of this legislation that we want to keep in there. We need the data. We need an approach to actually reduce the effects of road salt, and that's why we are very happy and proud to have this. The task force will be convened by early next year, and will be convened by 2021. And recommendations will go in no further than 2024, or the pilot program itself. So we are extremely happy in this. But none of this would have happened without a friend of all of ours here. I know he's probably looking down on us right now, making fun of my hair, and with a big smirk on his face, saying, "What's the big deal about? Just get the job done." Well, I can say, Randy, we got the job done, and we will continue to get it done. With us today to share a few of those words, with us, is Randy's wife, Michelle.
I was fine till he made jokes about Randy, because he's right. Randy would be talking about his hair, and he'd probably pick on Betty for being late. And he'd make some remark about Dan, I'm sure. He'd find something to pick on him about. But let me tell you, he would be so honored and so humbled. One thing you can say about Randy is he loved the Adirondacks. He loved his home. We traveled all around the world. We've literally been everywhere. And everywhere that man would go, he would pull out his phone and show people, this is where you need to go. This is the most beautiful place on earth. This is where I'm going to die. If you want to live anywhere, this is where you need to live. He was so proud of the Adirondacks. And I want to, on behalf of, first of all, our entire family, thank everyone for their hard work. Something else he used to say to me all the time is he was inspired by the committees and everyone that worked so hard on this project. He would say to me, he says, I'm not smart. He said, there are people a whole heck of a lot smarter than me on this committee. And he said, they know the science. He says, I need to be the stubborn one. And I truly believe that's what made this happen, was that he wasn't a quitter. Even through his sickness, he was not quitting. And I believe that that's what made this happen. And I applaud everyone for not letting this quit, for pushing it through on his behalf. So thank you very much for not letting this die with him. Thank you very much.
Very nice, Michelle. And you know, this we were discussing earlier, although many people have been working very hard on this for many, many years. This bill actually took off pretty quickly, and that's due to the hard work of everyone here. It's not often that you get a bill proposed and through in 1 year. Albany does not work like that. Just does not work like that. So we met last year, I believe, right around this time, over at the village offices, and to stand here today and have a bill in hand signed by the governor says a lot about all the people up here and all the people that have been involved in this. We're extremely proud. I'm just going to call Dan Kelting up for a few minutes. He's going to explain a little bit more of the effects that road salt can have on our environment and our residents. So, Dan?
Thank you all for supporting and putting this legislation through. I want to just say first, Michelle, working with your husband Randy was literally one of the best experiences of my life, and him leading our group through this effort was just tremendous. And so I'm a scientist, and scientists rarely have the opportunity to see their work utilized in such a way to actually get to legislation and have meaningful change. So I'm very thrilled to be a part of this group. So we started working on this issue about a decade ago at the Paul Smith College Adirondack Watershed Institute. The mission of our program is to protect clean water, and as you've already heard, that we've known for quite a long time that road salt is a pollutant, and it can have significant impacts on clean water. So we started looking at this issue in the Adirondacks, and we quickly found out that a lot of the lakes in the Adirondacks, Senator Little talked about our water resources being vital to our socioeconomic vitality. We started looking at the data, and we saw very clearly there's very high salt concentrations in some of our water bodies. Lake Colby is an example here, one of the highest in the region. And we started to look at what's causing those higher concentrations in some water bodies versus others. And we quickly discovered that it was actually roads. So we found that just quickly that state roads and watersheds were contributing to high salt levels in water. So more state road, more salt in the water, and that clearly had to do with the practice of road salting. Significant concern for the environment. And so we started to also think about, well, what about groundwater? Because most of the salt, we've had about 7 million tons of salt applied to our roads in the last 50 years. It's not on the roads, it washed off the roads, it went into the soil, and some of it actually left the watershed. So a lot of that salt ended up in the soil, and as Assemblyman Jones said, he's getting calls from people about their well water. And so we did a follow-up study sponsored by ADK Action and others, where we looked at people's well water, over 500 wells in the park, and we discovered significant well water or groundwater contamination, which is a direct human health concern. So, and again, just like with our lakes, like Lake Colby, we found that people's private drinking water wells that were located downslope of state highways had much higher concentrations of salt, sodium and chloride in them than wells that were located downslope of our local roads, which are treated differently, and also wells that are not even located near roads, which don't have any salt in them at all. So the science really supported this legislation in terms of seeing widespread salt concentrations in our surface waters, our streams and lakes, which has consequences for our ecosystems, but more importantly, in terms of human health, significant widespread groundwater pollution from road salting. So that was the science that really supported the need for this task force, and I'm very thrilled to be part of it. The group that formed to work on this issue with Lee Keat and others has just been a gratifying experience, and to be able to say we actually have legislation now signed by the governor to deal with this significant issue is just a thrill of my life. So thank you.
I think that's all. If you have any questions, we can take them. I just want to thank again everyone that's been involved in this. Really, this is probably, I believe this is going to be one of the best pieces of legislation that any of us will be involved in or has been involved in, and going in the future as well. Just extremely proud. I do want to say one more thing. What an honor it has been to work with our great senator, Senator Betty Little. And Betty, we all owe you a lot. And me personally, she took me under her wing when I got into the assembly, and she told me what I should be asking for the North Country. She said, "Listen, you're in the majority now. This is what you do. This is how you ask for it. We need you." And just was a mentor to me, and just has meant so much to the North Country and to all of us here. Thank you so much, Betty, for your service. Thank you.